how do you define happiness, and have you found it?
I think happiness is
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Life, Business and Bodybuilding. Now, in my 40-year existence, I've been very fortunate to meet some pretty amazing people in my time. None better than the dude opposite me today. He is an IFBB Pro Classic Physique champion. He's done more pro shows in the classic division than anyone else in the country, I think.
probably not too far off it.
Not too far off it. He's a single dad of a beautiful baby girl. He's an entrepreneur. And just to top it off, he's very easy on the eye, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Matty Orchard.
Man, if you can just walk into any room before I walk in and just announce that's all I need in my life.
Next little pro show you do, I'll just come up with a mic and I'll do the announcing. It's like Paul Heyman on WWE.
I was going to say, it's like everything for me is like a movie reference, right? Have you seen A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger?
Yes.
You know, when like they come out.
Rest his soul.
His soul. We're actually born on the same day. Crazy story. Yeah, me and Heath Ledger. And then like before he comes out, like they do like the announcement and they like hypes the crowd up and like gives him a warm introduction. Like that's what I need in my life. Just someone to walk into a room before I walk into it and just let everyone
Even
know.
Just the bathroom as you're about to have a shower.
just
anything, right?
It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm very, very excited to be here. Very appreciative that you invited me to come on, and big fan of yourself as well.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I did want to start by blowing some smoke because I have a lot of respect for you, and I want to acknowledge you because obviously you turned pro in 2022, I believe.
Yep.
Season B. In tough competition, you literally took a year off, put on a substantial amount of size in that year. It's like you were natty beforehand.
Yeah.
Went and competed in all these pro shows.
Yep.
Been away from your daughter, which I understand is incredibly difficult at the same time.
Yep.
But aside from all the competitive stuff, you're one of the only guys that is at every show, every amateur show. You're helping with the weigh-ins, you're doing the height class, you're the posing workshops, you're helping all this young blood coming through. A lot of respect, man, because a lot of people they fade out when they sort of have their success or whatever. You give back, and you give back in the right way. So you make a lot of people smile. So I'm grateful, man. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that. It's one thing that I've always kind of lived by is be who you needed. So be who you needed when you're in that position. One of my most vivid memories when I first started bodybuilding, and I might have still been in men's physique shorts, which shows you how long ago it was.
Yep.
I remember I walked into Decoding for something, and Josh Lenardowitz was there.
Yeah.
And this was right after Josh had probably just finished 6th at the Olympia.
Yeah.
I think.
Prime time thing.
Prime Josh Lenardowitz, like top 10 bodybuilder in the world.
Yeah.
He was in prep because I remember how you're talking about your memories like really changed.
Yeah.
I remember exactly what he was eating, and this would have been 6 years ago. He was eating salmon, spinach, and cherry tomatoes. I remember it clear as day. And I just wanted to come up and just introduce myself and say hi. And he told me to sit down. We probably had a good 30, 40-minute chat, and he just chatted shit with me. Yeah. And I was like, this is like a top 10 dude in the world. And he had the time for me during prep. Said from that day forward, I was like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be the person that helps people that were in my position and probably, you know, don't really know what to do next or whatever it is, and always love to give back to bodybuilding. And like you said, I'm always at everything that I can possibly be at.
Because you love it too,
I
right?
love it,
And
man. I love it. So yeah, I appreciate that. But
absolutely, man. It's tough because it's like, and I was the same. Like I'm obviously 39 years older than you are, but I didn't have that.
Yeah,
growing up.
Yeah.
Like in training. So it was like, and again, the same thing, social media wasn't around. So we had the magazines or whatever to read and this sort of stuff. But in the gym, everyone it wasn't the same kind of community. You'd sort of stick to yourself to a point. But one of my first guys was Scotty.
There you go. And he's another one that like...
Yeah, and like I said, that potty with Jackson, same sort of thing. It's like, how do you want to be remembered when it's all said and done? Absolutely. It's like, I want to be like a Scott Goebel guy. Do you know what I mean? Like someone that's always given back and no one's got anything bad to say about him.
Like someone asked me the other day, they were like, you know, what do you want to be remembered as?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to be remembered as a successful pro? Do you want to be remembered as a good coach? And I'm like, dude, I want to be remembered as a good person.
Yeah.
Like bodybuilding is what I do. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
Like what you do doesn't define who you are, and who I am is what I want to be remembered for. And which is why, you know, I'm the first person to reach out, offer advice, help where I can, volunteer anywhere I can. And that's just that's the legacy that I want to leave for sure. Bodybuilding is a byproduct, man. It's a hobby, right? It's
that you happen to be really fucking good at.
Well, your words, not mine. But yeah, and I said, it's like you can be the greatest bodybuilder in the world, but if you're still a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit.
I love that.
Yeah.
So take me back to 2022, because actually, question before that, did you always want to be a pro? Because I know your athletic background, like you could have fucking gone to NBA from what I know, but you know, you were doing men's physique, this sort of stuff. When did it click in your head? You were like, I'm actually pretty good at this. I want to be a pro. Or was it kind of like you're going to compete, have fun, and then it's like, oh shit, I won?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a defining moment per se. Like you said, I have a very sports-specific background. Like I grew up playing AFL, played in the TSC Cup, played for Victoria in football, lost my love for that, picked up a basketball, ended up going and playing a few years overseas in college for basketball. Man, the level of talent over there is just a whole different kettle of fish altogether. But so I spent 3 years over in the US playing in collegiate basketball over there. Came home.
Whereabouts?
In Iowa. So it's kind of like due west of Chicago and Minnesota up there. Cold, a lot of snow, and a lot of corn. That's all I can tell you. That's not a lot of time for anything else.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably where my development for like my love for strength and conditioning kind of began, right? Is, you know, we had a pretty rigorous, you know, weight training schedule. A lot of the guys were supposed to be on meal plans that they weren't. But, you know, and that's where I kind of developed my love for strength and conditioning and being in the weight room a little bit more. And, you know, like, I don't know, like most people, but for me specifically, I started lifting weights to be better at the sport that I was playing.
Yeah.
So a lot of my training was not like hypertrophy per se. It was, you know, like strength and conditioning. It was mobility. It was, you know, a lot of jumping stuff. Like I'm a 5'10" white guy, so
yeah, because maybe you've commented a few times. Like I'll sit there and do some shoots on the story, and you're like, good shot. And then here you are, half my size, and you just go dunk it. I'm like, I can't even touch the ring, let alone the net. I'm like, God damn it.
I always tell this like really funny story about when I went over to the US for the first time to go to college over there, and they've got a pretty rigorous like visa application and the way you go through the processing and everything like that. And I still remember it clear as day. I was like 20 years old, never been to another country before in my life. I've just traveled 20-something hours to the US, and I'm trying to get into the US, and they got to go through your visa documents and stuff like that. And, you know, I had it on my passport that I was there on an athletic scholarship to play basketball. And I remember there's this like the most generic, overweight African-American female that you can possibly think of, full weave, like the works, right? And I remember she just like pulls her glasses down half her nose and like looks over the counter at me, and she's like, basketball, huh? I don't know about that. And I was like, oh man.
Confidence.
Yeah, like literally, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no, I promise, I'm really fast and I can jump high.
I can do some things. Promise. I'm like the Muggsy Bogues on the team. Okay?
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of came home. Sorry, I went off in a bit of a tangent then, but came home, started playing semi-pro basketball back in Australia for some like, kind of like you would explain it, like the league below the NBL.
Yeah.
So you'd say it's like the VFL of the NBL type scenario, and played semi-professional there, so earned a salary doing that, and started continuing my weight training. Started developing more of a love for that. I didn't even know bodybuilding existed back then. You know, obviously knew who Arnold was and what have you, and I would have been, you know, 25 at this time, so still like considerably older than a lot of guys starting bodybuilding now.
100%.
Not even 75 kilos ringing wet. Like, still had delts and abs, but like I came out the womb with delts and abs, so that's fine. And then, you know, someone sort of, you know, oh, you got pretty good genetics, man. You know, like you got pretty good genetics, blah blah blah. You know, have you ever thought about competing? And I was like, in what? In what?
I already do. Everything else.
What do you mean?
What, like volleyball? Like,
yeah. And you know, they sort of showed me, and you know, for me, I was very much like a pretty boy. Like I love that kind of look. So for me, like the first two this is embarrassing to say out loud, but the first two inspirations for bodybuilding for me were Steve Cook and Jeremy Buendia.
Awesome.
Because they were like magazine cover.
They were real big. Yeah, they were huge.
Back then, they were huge. So I was the biggest Steve Cook fan going around, man. Like,
Steve, good dude. From like,
great dude.
Like, yeah.
He's married to an Aussie chick now, actually. Yeah. So Steve Cook, Jeremy Buendia, they were like my first influences. Worked with a very respectable, all natural coach, competed in the ICN, kind of like for shits and gigs whilst I was still working full time, playing basketball, everything, just to see how I sort of went. and then won everything. So I won all the state titles, all the national titles, won the Australian men's physique overall, everything. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And then someone's like, have you ever tried testosterone? And I was like,
what's that?
Ooh, you mean I can get bigger and better? Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then I left the board shorts and the natty status behind. And yeah. So I sort of tell people I didn't really start bodybuilding until I was like 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And gearing around that time too, right? I was the same. I was about 20, I think I was 25.
27, 28 is when I sort of did my first cycle. And it was just 250 tests, like unlike what a lot of first cycles people run these days.
1,000.
But bad, man. Like,
isn't it funny though? Like, sorry to cut you off. I know, like, so even Josh Lenardowicz, like I'm quite close to Josh, and like, dude, he had won like every single INBA World Universe thing, and then he's like, oh, I'll just take some gear or whatever.
Pretty
just
much.
Blew up.
Yeah.
So it's like, obviously it's a genetic thing, but at the same time, like a lot of the guys I spoke to that like started the subs and enhancements later have had such more success in their career.
I could not agree.
Maybe because of like their understanding the mechanics of actually how to train, and they've given their body time and understanding what bodybuilding is. But
man, I get, like, I'm sure you get it too. Like, you get kids that come up to you in the gym, they're like, hey man, what are you running? Like, what's your cycle? I'm like, these kids are like 21, 22. And I'll tell them, I literally just told you my cycle as you walked in, right? And you were like, so you're basically natty.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, basically.
They don't believe you. You're like, no, what else?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, what else? Or you're just lying to me because you don't want me to take that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm as transparent as they come. You know me. I'll tell anyone and everything. So, the whole reach your natural potential type scenario, but it's not even that. It's the education of how to train, how to eat, how to recover. Like, there's so many variables that go into it. I mean, we've all got a handful of mates that just jumped on a cycle because they thought it was going to make them blow up, and what did it do? Nothing.
Acne.
Acne and a beer gut, bro. That's all you got from it. So yeah, I sort of did 2 seasons in the IFBB in men's physique. Won the Victorian title I won the first timers in the novice, and then was like 3rd in the open, my first ever show. And then second season, I cleaned up everything. I think I lost the men's physique overall at nationals. And then I was like, I'm done with board shorts. Switched to classic, and then it never came back.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So what was it like when because I remember, because you stole the pro card off me. Same thing. Jackson took it. All the guests I'm getting on are the people that have stolen the pro card off me. Like, give this 40-year-old guy a break. So because I remember, because I follow your career, and like I said, we've been mates, so I've got a lot of respect for you. So it's like you did season A that year.
I did, yeah.
You got very, very close.
Yeah.
Was the feedback, you fuck a B stick away, just keep going? Or were you like, fuck, I'm so close, I'm going to go again? Because then you did season B against Coben in the overall.
Yeah. There was 3 in the overall, actually.
Because the different high classes.
That's the only year I think they've ever had 3 in the overall.
Yes, correct. Thank you, yes.
No, so I did season A. Callum beat me by...
You made the overall on that, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So made the overall. It was me and Callum, and it was a split decision. I think from memory, he won 4-3, so it was about as close as you can possibly get.
Did that hurt?
Bro, I cried for 20 minutes backstage. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, and this is to clarify, I love Callum, by the way. Let me say that. I've got a lot of respect for Callum, and it's funny because him and I, we shot the day before. We were pumping up and posing backstage before the overall, and then we were having so much fun, we actually forgot we had to do the overall, and they were like, can you guys get on stage? And we were like, oh shit, my bad.
Yeah.
And then the day after that, we both shot together in one gym as well. So like, we get along really well.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I was so shattered, and this probably says a lot about me, is it had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So that year, or the season A, I had a lot of content out. I was probably the favorite for the pro card. Probably the Nationals was in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Probably had about 50 or 60 people come to watch, because it was like supposed to be me.
Like from your crew, you had your peeps.
Yep. I had, everyone was wearing, Orch shirts and hoodies, like 60 people, man. And it was crazy. And I remember I lost. I didn't care about losing. Like, I've lost in my life. That doesn't bother me. But I was like, I sat in the back room and cried for 20 minutes because I was like, I can't face those people out there.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, they didn't.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. But to me, I was like, I can't face those people out there. Yeah. Pulled myself together, came out, and obviously everyone was like, dude, fucking amazing. Like, what the hell? Like, holy shit.
And you're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And all I did was apologize. Everyone's like, shut up, bro. Yeah. Like, my tans like run down my face because I'm just bawling my eyes out. So once I sort of pulled myself together and sort of had a good think about it, I was like, how can I be disappointed in this? You know what I mean? It was very all encompassing, and it was a lot of emotions on comp day, as you very much know. And at that moment, I was like, well, I'm not doing season B. I'm taking some time off. I was just about to go on a holiday, take some time off, chill out, recover, do the whole works. And I remember it was like 2 days before I was going on my holiday. My missus was mad as fuck because I was like 2 days away from going on a holiday. I trained at Doherty's in the city, ran into Tony. Yeah, Tony doesn't shy away from saying what he needs to say, which we love about him.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, gave me credit on season A, and he's like, what are your plans now? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm about to go on holiday. I'll make a decision when I come back, but probably season A next year. And he goes, don't do that. I said, what do you mean? He goes, do season B. You're that close. You know your body. It's just another stepping stone, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right. So
shit.
Holidays.
The missus will let down Tony.
Yeah. Well, Tony and I are still close, and I'm no longer with that missus, so I'll let that speak for what itself. So anyway, I like tracked everything whilst we were over on holiday and trained whilst I was there, and basically got straight back to it and came back season B, and I mean the rest is history, right? It was unanimous, so it was pretty clear cut, I think.
It's a pretty interesting feeling going from like, you'll probably still cry backstage season B, right? Like same sort of thing. I know you're an emotional cat.
Oh yeah, very.
But what was that like though? Was it like, so was it gratification? Was it validation? Did it even sink in at the start? You're like, holy shit, I'm like the best in the country at this now.
No, I think for me, again, this probably speaks a little bit to sort of who I am as a person, is I very rarely will dwell on the now. It's always like, okay, what's next? And I think because in my head, I'd already determined that I was going to be a professional bodybuilder. Like before I did the show with Callum, which I lost, in my head, I was like, okay, it's just a matter of time before I turn pro now. I need to turn pro so that I can have a big weight cap, that I can grow, that I can just go into the next step of my journey.
Yeah.
And then I turned pro, and it was just the most overwhelming sense of like, thank fuck. Like, thank you. Like that's out of the way now.
Like a relief almost? Like,
which looking back is probably a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
That I didn't sort of take it in as much as I should have and enjoyed the moment for what it was. Because for me, it was all about, how good of a pro can I be? Not, can I turn pro and like, that's my career done type scenario. I always said that the second that I turned pro, I would use that pro card. I would compete internationally and I would do my best to do well internationally.
Yeah.
And I think I probably got to that point too quick after turning pro. And I didn't relish the feeling and the appreciation for the work that I had done to get to where I was. So yeah, as much as I don't like to say it out loud, it probably was just a sense of relief more than anything else.
Absolutely. Appreciate the honesty. Talk about America a little bit, because that's, again, one of those things I have a huge amount of respect for you, because like I've done 31 shows now, as you know, and last year doing the 6 shows in 5 weeks was brutal.
Yeah.
And like the only thing got me through was my own ego or arrogance at the start to go, I'm going to do this. And it wasn't about anything else. It was about me. As you know, I was going through my own shit at the time.
For sure.
And it was like, it was a distraction. It was something to do, whatever. Did you do 5 or 4 in the States?
I did 4 in 4 weeks.
That's so 4 in 4 weeks, but 4 different, like
4 different states.
States of different things. So
not
it's
even
like,
not even
you're
close.
rivaling what I did there and probably spending 10 times more money than I was.
I don't want to talk about that, bro. I don't want to talk about the money.
But what were the States like? Because obviously, again, you're in a foreign country. Like, we spoke last week or the other week about like, something was $19 and you're like, fuck, I just dropped $56 on that. I didn't win that,
And it adds
you
up.
dropped what, 30 grand?
Yeah, I probably spent about 40 grand on that trip. Now, to be fair, we probably didn't spare as many expenses as we should have.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, it's my first pro tour. Like the first show we did was the New York Pro. And we stayed in Manhattan for a week, like probably about 200 meters from Times Square.
Beautiful.
So you can only imagine the cost of that.
Yeah.
But, so for the first 2 weeks I was there, I was with 2 of my good mates. One was coaching me. One was my videographer. So the 3 of us.
So Tom
coached me.
Yeah.
Tom coached me for that show. Yep. And then Mitch was my videographer.
The only thing I have over Tom in 2015, Bendigo beat him in the overall.
I'll let him know.
We'll tell him that.
He knows.
He was more conditioned. I was just bigger.
That man gets
Riggs Nabber show. I'll just take that. Like,
We'll take it. So New York. So the shows were New York, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So a bit of travel. So 4 states, 4 weeks. So Tom and Mitch were there for the first 2 weeks. So they did the first 2 shows, and then they ended up jetting back home, which was always the plan. It's not like they left last minute, right? Yeah. So they always planned on being there for the 2 shows. And then for me, I booked the first 2 weeks, and then it was because I had no clue how I was going to look on a pro stage.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I could get up on the New York Pro and be like, this ain't for me, man. and then I'll do the second show and I'll come home. Ended up doing reasonably well in New York, ended up doing even better at the Louisiana show. And I was like, I want to keep this baby rolling. So booked the next 2 flights.
Yeah, so they weren't planned.
No.
Yeah, great.
No, absolutely. I knew that they were there. I knew that they were there.
Yeah.
I had them like tentatively in the back of my head. I was like, look, if things go well and my body feels good and I feel mentally, physically healthy enough to keep the tour going, I will. And then, so it's interesting looking back, New York was a disappointment at the time, but I'm stoked with how well I did. Yeah. So I think there was 30 guys in the lineup.
Wow.
Yeah. New York's a big show.
Yeah.
30 guys in the lineup, and I ended up finishing 12th.
Huge, bro. Fucking huge.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because if you said to me before I went, like, you're going to finish 12th at the New York Pro, I'd be like, like my goal for my first pro tour was to get 1 second call out.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
And I got it at the New York Pro, and we probably missed the mark a little bit there as well.
Yeah.
So I think the disappointment for me didn't come with the placing; it came with the look.
Yep.
Right, and something you could probably relate to is like,
yeah, of course.
I mean, we both probably won shows before where we didn't look that great, and we've lost in shows where we thought we looked our best.
Oh, it was on.
Yeah. Like, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like New York was a little bit of a disappointment because of the look, but 12th at my pro debut at the New York Pro, like, who's going to turn that down, right? And then went on to Louisiana, ended up finishing 7th there, and I was like, nah, I've got to run this back, like I have to. So I stayed, did an extra 2 shows, and then ended up finishing 3rd at
Oklahoma. Because what was the 3rd one?
That was in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah.
So I finished 3rd at Oklahoma.
That's cheeky $1,000 to pay for the time.
It just paid for that. It paid for the extra luggage that I had to take home. That's what it did. And then so that's where we're at.
Yeah, nice, man.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest misconception about bodybuilders is? I've got my own take on this as well. I think it's an interesting sort of take on it.
The biggest misconception about bodybuilders?
Yeah.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is that we're all just like meathead, trend-roided,
exactly what I was about to say. Like just dumb fucks.
Dumb fucks.
Some are.
It's called
public kind of right.
It's called a generalization for a reason, and I'm okay with that. But I mean, a lot of people don't know. Perfect example, like 99% of people don't know that I actually have a psychology degree.
There you go.
I consider myself a bit of an intellect. I'm definitely a massive nerd.
Yeah.
Studied whilst I was over in the US playing basketball, so I got a degree over there doing that. I think that's a big misconception. And the roid rage is such a big misconception. I tell everyone that enhancements are exactly that. They're an enhancement. So depending on what your natural predisposition is going to be, steroids are just going to enhance that. For you and I, we're just emotional pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So we just become...
Just cry extra. Where's my Remison? I want to hug.
Yeah, so it's
I'm notorious for just hugging blokes at comps and all the time. It's like, dude, you're right. I was like, I'm just giving you a hug, bro.
I'm good. Just giving you a hug. Just let you know. Just let you know I love you. So.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's like, just dumb bodies. But even the really small things about like tracking every single detail and collecting all the data over the years about all the lifts you do and all the food you do and all the stuff. And remember, I've spoken to you before. I'm not as much now, but I was that nut that would like literally, if one of my meals was 200 grams of steak and 30 grams of almonds, I weigh it and it's 31 grams, I'd cut an almond in half. I was pretty fucking freaky like that.
I removed 3 grams of rice from my meal this morning. Just thought I'd let you know.
You topped me again. You steal my pro card. You bet me in the diet thing. Fuck, get out of my podcast. I just need to interview myself. But but then I and I'm sure you have as well, I've transitioned that mentality into other aspects of my life.
Oh, yeah.
How I parent my 3 babies, how I'm in relationships, which never seem to work out. Next question.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. One day I'll get it right. But even like what I said with Bear Bros, right? Like just the detail to remember certain details. And let's say like I'm doing a hens party, for example, and there's a little bit of wax that's dried on the corner of the table. No one sees it, but I just go and scratch it off because it's like I see that. And in the end of that comes down on the impact of how that hens party's running. Like let's say I know we're getting off bodybuilding here, but let's say it's like there's 20 girls at this hens party. And obviously the main focus is the hen. I'm providing as much entertainment and focus to her as I can. Every other one of those 19 girls gets a smile on their face at a certain point because you're like still entertaining them and you reading the crowd, certain things. Like all this is still a byproduct for me of bodybuilding. I always say any success I had in my life is a byproduct of not my rig, I don't want to say that, but what it took to get the rig.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I had a client this morning before I came in here who's competing tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure that I had a look at him.
What's tomorrow?
Just an ICN show.
Yeah.
Terrible timing for a show, but that's so I wanted to make sure I had a look at him today. He's already done 2 days of carb up, blah, blah, blah. First prep, 23, natty. Looks really good, by the way. And we were just shooting the shit, sort of talking stuff. And I was like, how's the prep been, blah, blah. And he was sort of going into the depths of how he's learned a lot of lessons about himself, learned a lot of lessons about discipline and how, if you put the work in, you get the reward, all these things that bodybuilding has subconsciously taught us over the years. We probably haven't even really comprehended, but then hearing it come from a 23-year-old who's just done his first prep, and it's just like, it's deeper than how we look on stage. It really is, for sure.
It's crazy, isn't it? I think it's very interesting looking back at that stuff, and even like, what was I like at 23 compared to what I'm like now? And
if I met the 23-year-old version of myself, man, I'd punch him square in the face. Are you kidding me? Punch him square.
I've always been an old soul. I've never really been like a party boy or anything like that. I think I've been to about 3 nightclubs in my life, but
I think there was a big period of my life where I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really know where I fit in, and I think I tried everything, right? So it's like, I'll try and be with the party crew. I'll try and drink with the footy boys on the weekend, see if that works. I'll be a recluse and I'll sit in my room for 6 out of the 7 nights of the week. And, you just got to try and find where you fit in sort of scenario. So, I mean, I've been and tried everything. I've done and tried everything. And at the end, I'm kind of just walking my own path, man. It's like,
do you have, still going off that question of the misconception of bodybuilders, do you have anyone in your life now that is still really close to you, but just doesn't get it? And I can't remember who I had this conversation with, I know I just asked you a question, I'm going to go on something else, but it's like, only you, Matt Orchard, know how I feel when I'm in a prep or when I'm at 6% body fat or if I'm crying because I miss my kids or like any of that sort of stuff. But if you haven't put yourself through, I don't want to say the darkness of a prep because we all love it, right? But put yourself through the grind of doing that, you'll never get it. And it's like, in my case, doing that many shows, why do I still keep going back? Cool space. I'm not going to be a pro, man, especially now going into bodybuilding. Like, it's just, crazy things have happened. But at the same time, like, why am I still doing it?
Yeah.
And I've asked the question to myself so many times, like in a mirror or whatever. It's like, I don't even know the answer.
I was going to say, can you articulate the answer?
No, I really don't even know the answer. It's just like, I love it that much, but it gives me so much purpose. I need and I spoke to you privately about this. Like after the last shows, I'm like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
And you're like, really?
I remember I said, no, you're not.
Yeah. You said, no, you're not. And I'm
No,
like, fuck off, Maddie. No, you don't know me. But then like, I just let it settle. It's just because I was sick and I was down and it was dark and I didn't present what I wanted to present on stage. Like I said, inside out peeled, I was just the men's physique skinny boy. No disrespect.
You're still over 100
no
kilos
disrespect,
on
men's
stage.
physique.
That's
I know,
fine.
yeah. But do you know what I mean? So it's like, and now I just can't wait for the next show.
Yeah.
Because it gives me so much purpose. And like all I do now, after being through certain amounts of trauma like we both have, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
No, absolutely not.
I'm not trying to chase happiness. I'm trying to chase moments of joy. And a byproduct of that, is I'll have a happy life, right? So it's like, what brings me joy? Fucking doing the podcast, hanging out with my best mate. It's the most fun thing ever. So right now I'm focused on that. I'm not focused on what's after that. I get to pick Huddy up from school today. We're going to go play video games and play Ninja Turtles. It's great. Before that, I'm going to go, train legs. Like I'm just trying to be really, really present in what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, like bodybuilding for me, regardless of how many years I've got left and shows and all this sort of stuff, it brings me so much joy. I almost tear up by saying it because it's like, it's the one thing that's saved me. Like, I'll get deep here for a sec and I'll be really honest with you. I've never, ever got myself to a point where I didn't want to be on this earth, okay? As far as like certain things that have happened. But I have no idea what I'd fucking be without bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like I'd never leave my kids, ever. All right? I'd never do anything like that. But dude, if I didn't have bodybuilding, fuck, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've been...
Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, that's a great tangent. So vulnerability... I've been in that position twice in my life.
Yeah.
Where, I've been open with, my depression in the past.
Yeah.
you know, I've openly said that my mum was clinically bipolar, and that affected me a lot when I was younger. And, you know, the darkness and the depression kind of creeps in. And the second time I sort of felt that was after my daughter was born.
Yeah.
And that snapped me out of it like really quickly, right? Because it's like before that, you know, you've got your sports and your family and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what's really left for me if I go? You know what I mean? And then once you have a kid, like everything changes, right? Your purpose changes, your reason for why you do what you do changes. And the first time that happened before I had my daughter is when I was really starting to get heavy into bodybuilding. And someone sort of said to me, if you were to leave this earth, think about how many people's life you couldn't change.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a really cool way to switch it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like how many people you'd hurt in the process, but look how many people you could get to affect.
Correct.
Thousands.
That changed me. And then I had a conversation with someone really close to me just recently, actually, and we were talking about how a lot of people will use the visual of their body to inspire.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I like really agree with that in that aspect. And they kind of clarified a little bit, and they're like, no, not what you look like, but why you look like the way you do.
Correct.
Or how you've managed to look the way that you do is the inspiration. It's not, people don't see the delts and the abs and the quads and think that's an inspiration.
Yeah.
They see the struggles that I've gone through, things that I've overcome, the dedication that I put into this, and this is the result that I get to display because of that. That's the inspiration.
Yeah.
And when someone said to me that if you take yourself off this planet, there's too many people that won't be better because you're not here.
Yeah.
I never had that thought ever again.
Yeah, good. Thanks for sharing that. It's funny, even like, I've had a few people just even message me privately. So you know how I'm fucking around doing the Wednesday wisdom thing?
Yeah.
I think it's great. And it's like half the time I steal the quote off someone else and then I just, you know, whatever. But it's like, and they're all things that even mean something to me.
Mm.
But you still post it and you're like, I don't want to cringe from it and be like, oh, I hope no one like hates me doing this or this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I still get so many messages going, dude, I fucking live for this. I even went and trained with E-Man on Monday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Some
cool videos and posing and stuff like
he's
that.
a stacked unit, man.
He's a good dude.
Round as hell. And he's a beautiful human. And it's like, even he said some really beautiful things. Like he looks up to me. And I'm like, why? Why do you look up to me? But he's like, the posing side of things, yes. And he's like, I love seeing your stories with your kids. And it's like, how do you do all this, but then still have them? And he goes, even that one where you like open the oven and you're like, fuck, it's not in there. It's like, I love how real and raw you are. And it's like, oh, you watched the whole story. You just tapped through. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
But, you know, even him to sort of stay something, and he goes, I love your Wednesday morning, man.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll keep doing it. Because if I'm affecting him, who knows who else I'm affecting with it. So,
yeah.
Fuck what the naysayers say, whatever it may be. So,
and I was talking to someone about this the other day, like Fuad Abiad, I don't know if you know who that is. So, you know, he started getting into the podcast game, and he now has probably the biggest bodybuilding podcast in the world.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he would post a video and there'd be 400 comments.
Yeah.
Right? And 397 of them are positive.
Yeah.
And there's 3 really negative comments. But he would only reply to the negative ones, and then the negative ones would sit in his brain all day.
Yeah.
And he's like, 3 out of 400 is where's the math in that?
But the 397 that commented positively, there's probably 397,000 that are still loving it, but just didn't comment.
Correct. And, you know, that's something I think about. You know, I took a break from YouTube when I came back. And, I'm definitely going to get back into doing that. I've had people asking about that. And like you said, if it just changes one person, it's worth it, man. Yeah. It's worth it. For sure.
Do you worry, and this is something I'll give my take on it too, because I think I will battle with this, but do you worry when it's all said and done and you stop competing, for example, that you will lose your identity of who you are?
No, I definitely don't think so. Yeah. And that's something that I'm very confident in saying.
Good.
Because like I said, bodybuilding is what I do.
Yes.
It's not who I am. I think if I had been bodybuilding since I was 18, 19, 20, maybe a different story. Yeah. Because I once thought that with basketball.
Yeah.
Right? I once thought to myself with basketball, once I'm done playing, why am I here? Yeah. Right? I'll always need to do something competitive. Like I always laugh and joke that when I'm done bodybuilding, I'm going to take up CrossFit.
jiu-jitsu or something. CrossFit, yeah, you probably wouldn't go on that too, would you?
Yeah. Watch me win a High Rocks in 5 years' time, bro.
Just do it in like 12 weeks, just to say
12
you're in
weeks?
6%.
Yeah,
do it.
it'll be fine.
Do it both at the same time.
I did a Tough Mudder. Do you know what Tough Mudder is?
Yeah.
I did a Tough Mudder one prep. I was like,
Tore a calf at the same time or
oh,
something.
no, so almost, but I was probably like 8 weeks out from a show, and I was like, I'm going to do Tough Mudder, and then ended up doing it, and it ended up being the craziest, best experience. It was really fun, but I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this until I'm done competing. But yeah, no, I don't think, like I said, because bodybuilding is not my identity, and I haven't made it that either.
Yeah.
Like if you look at my social media, like I post bodybuilding stuff.
Of course.
But, you know, you look at both of our social medias and there's so much more to who we are as an individual that you get a lot of 19, 20, 21-year-old kids these days, and they just make it their entire identity, and everything becomes bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And all you need is one tear, one injury, one issue to take that away from you. And then what have you got left?
Yeah.
You know, another quote that I live by is if everyone in the world was blind, how many people would you impress?
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to write that down and steal it and call it my own.
Do it. Put it on the Wednesday show.
That's next Wednesday Wisdom News. Monday's going to tag you. I'm going to be like, fuck it.
Wednesday Wisdom.
I thought of this myself, guys.
So I came up with this all by myself. But yeah, if everyone in the world was blind, how many people would you impress?
Yeah, I like that.
That's a good one.
See, I'm probably not exactly where you are, whether it's been doing it longer or I think I still rely on, I've probably got work to do in myself with dealing with certain things in the past or whatever, but I think I still rely on it a little bit too much. Happy to admit that. That's fine. I think mainly because like I'm at my happiest when I'm prepping. So if I'm not prepping, will I still be happy / chasing that joy I spoke about before? Obviously my kids bring me joy, relationships do, my friends, all this sort of stuff. But, you know, I look at Scotty now and I ask him, I go, do you miss it? He's like, no. I go, really? Like how? And he's like, I don't know, just don't. I'm just content with it. So that's when I knew, because I spoke to him and I spoke to you and I think I spoke to Jez. Where I was like, I'm done. Like really, I'm like, I'm done. No more. I'm not going to do it anymore. Like this prep was tough, this sort of stuff, whatever. And all of you were like, okay. Sure.
We all thought the exact same thing.
But then like, again, when you had the time, it's like, no, I already miss it. Whereas Scotty doesn't miss it. So he knew when to walk away because he just doesn't miss it. He's happy going to help other people do it, but he's got no desire to jump back on the stage. So I still have desire to jump on there. So it's like I can't get rid of it yet.
How involved do you think that you will stay in bodybuilding once you're done competing? Once you finally say, all right, I'm done, I'm never going to get back on stage again, are you going to be like, I can't go to a show? Are you going to want to look to coach more clients? Like, how is that?
No, I still do what you do, right? I still hang around, and the only time I don't do stuff like that is if I've got the kids. It's very hard to bring 3 kids to a show by yourself. Or you remember that one time I came to the posing workshop just because I thought like that, and Goldie's fucking throwing twisties on the floor. Tony's looking at this. I'm like, I'm sorry, please don't shoot me.
I remember I was pumping up backstage for the pro qualifier. My daughter was there because I made sure that she was there and what have you. And so when my daughter was younger, she had a real big thing with her hair. Like no one could touch her hair except for me. Like dad has to do it. So I'm pumping up backstage. I'm like messaging my coach, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I get a message, Rory needs you to do her hair.
You did it though, didn't you?
Of course I did.
Of course I did. Yeah.
Walked out of backstage. Out of backstage in my trunks, tanned up, glazed up, on my hands and knees, doing a ponytail in the middle of the expo because I'm like, this has to be done.
100%. I will still absolutely be involved to answer that question because like, and remember, did the VIX, decided not to do nationals because it was just too sick at the time, needed to focus on my health. I was contemplating whether to go or not because I was just like, I should be up there with all my boys and competing or whatever. But I was like, no, I'll go. And I had the greatest day because it was my people. Exactly what I said before about, you know, the joy or whatever. And dude, I was overwhelmed, yourself included, the amount of people that came up to me and put their hand on my shoulder and go, dude, you okay? Like, I heard what happened. Like, look me deep in the eye, like, not everything. Like, Josh Leonardo's came up and like, again, the same thing. We had a chat for 20 minutes. And he's like, bro, health first. The stage will always be there. He goes, I'm really glad that you focused on you and your kids and decided to do the show.
Because let's be honest,
I'm like, oh, thanks, Josh.
Let's be honest, you could have sucked it up and you could have done nationals and who knows what could have happened. But man, there's bigger things.
Yeah, and I made the decision at the time and I'll live with it. But I was so loved that day because all you got, you're my people. Yeah. You're my network. And so it's like, I'll still be around that whether I'm competing or not. And I had a great day watching, helping Jez backstage, helping the boys and everything. So,
and I think that's why I do, like, I'm at every workshop, and, you know, I had a chance to test judge the Queensland show, which
that's the other thing.
That was an incredible experience. And I think, like you said, it brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
Being around people that love it too, that are happy to shoot the shit with me, and we just enjoy being present in the moment with my people, right? And yeah, I don't think I'll ever move away from it. And once I do stop competing, like I said, my coaching is doing really well, and I really enjoyed the judging that I did. I'm not afraid to be in front of a mic and a camera. So if I'm on stage emceeing one day, that won't be a problem either, you know. So
hopefully Tony will ask me to do guest poses when I'm 50 and 60.
Hell yeah,
just come do some routines.
Hell yeah, we'll put some tutus on and we'll
then you, me, and E-Man need to do a triple threat together. That'd be something else.
That'd be nice.
It's so funny when I posted that, the amount of DMs I got from girls.
Oh really?
Saying, who's that? Not me. Who's that? And I'm like, fuck's sake. Of course it was. The attention goes to E-Man. God damn it. Yeah, but no, I'm going to digress slightly.
For sure.
Random deep question.
I'm here for it.
How do you define happiness, and have you found it? Guess it goes off what I said before too, right?
I think happiness is forever changing. I think something that can bring you happiness one day won't bring it to you the next. I think it's not something that can be held. I think it's something that constantly needs to be chased. And that's just me personally. Have I experienced genuine happiness? Absolutely. For sure. No doubt about it in my mind. Are there days when I'm unhappy? Absolutely. Yeah. But that's something that we all take in stride. I don't know if I can give you a true definition of what happiness is.
Yeah.
Because
it's fleeting, right? Exactly what you said. Like you're happy right now speaking to me.
Of course.
Who isn't?
Of course.
You walk down that fucking stairs there and you trip over. Please don't trip over.
Yeah.
And you're unhappy because you hurt your foot.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just
for sure. And I think for me, I'm very, and everything in my life, because basketball was such a big part of my life, and it was probably my first like true love, I suppose, that everything gets related back to that. And something my coach told me very early on, and it's just stuck with me my entire life, is that it's always just the next possession, right? You never get too high, never get too low.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you hit a 3-pointer on the buzzer, right? It's like there's still another play to go. Doesn't matter if you've airballed or got your shot blocked. It's like we've still got to get back and play defense. And that's something that I kind of take into my life a little bit. It's that it doesn't matter how good this moment is. It doesn't matter how good today is, that we've got to do it again tomorrow. Yeah. And vice versa. It doesn't matter how bad today is. It doesn't mean that tomorrow is going to be the same. Like, I have control over that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing, is that I'm always trying to be present. I'm trying to be in the moment, but I'm also understanding that this moment isn't the be all and end all, because we're on to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you seen the it's like some of the world's greatest actors in the round table. Yeah. I think it was like Robert De Niro, Tom Hanks. Yep. You know where I'm going, right? Exactly. And it's like, I think it was Robert De Niro saying where he's like, you know, just be calm. I'm not going to do that. Just be calm. Because he's like, you never, let's say you're in this line, you be calm here. Something amazing happens. Mm-hmm. You go, oh my God, and it's amazing. Then something really bad happens. It's so far to fall. Yep. And then you fall below that line really, really low. Yep. But it's like, don't be too sad, because you're going to come back up here. Something's going to bring you back up here. So he's like, just go through, be calm, celebrate the wins, celebrate losses, but just kind of hover around this point. I believe it to a point, but at the same time, like, I love that really, really high feeling. Because it's like, when you do experience the really, really lows, the happiness is so much greater, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if we're talking about relationships, so after my ex or whatever, the marriage, Carly, we all know.
Everyone knows. It's not a secret. It's not a secret.
It's not a secret. I fell in love pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, after that, I spoke to one of my like life mentors who I'm very close with, Donna, if she's watching. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. Yeah. Like, black heart, fuck this shit. I'm sick of hurting.
Yeah.
Then she goes, no, you've been a fuckwit. And I'm like, fuck you. Don't call me a fuckwit.
Tell me.
I'm still emotional. She goes, what was it like when you felt that love? Yeah. I go, oh, bro, fucking incredible. It's like, so wouldn't you still rather feel that than not feel that? So it made me think I would still rather feel that and then experience the darkest of darkness, because I know I'm going to be back up there again. It's just a matter of time. And I think if it happens often enough, I'm not talking love, but if you're feeling that darkness so often, your ability to get back up to that calmer spot, that midline, so to speak, is better every time, to a point where, like, and I'm not playing the victim here, but it's like, I've experienced a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, next time something happens, you just kind of go, okay, next. You're just resilient, a lot more resilient than what you were if you hadn't have gone through that shitstorm, so to speak.
I think this might be something that you can relate to as well, especially for me. Like, my childhood, it wasn't deplorable by any stretch, but, you know, we weren't well off. We struggled, had some issues, blah, blah, blah. That it was like, in my childhood, that anytime I started to feel this, I knew this was coming. It was like I would get built up and then it would just all come crashing down. So I guess I kind of developed, and this is something that I've worked through in therapy, and I strongly suggest everyone goes to therapy, and I've never shied away from the fact that I see a therapist and still continue to do so. And for me, it was the unwavering expectation of disappointment after a success. Because for me, it was like, all right, I'm feeling up here. I can't go any higher. The only place I can go is down. So that kind of developed intrinsically within me, I guess subconsciously, to not enjoy the happiness. Because as soon as I felt something pleasurable and something really good, whether that be relationships that ended, whether that be sporting careers that flunked, whatever the case may be, it was like I sort of learnt to appreciate the highs a little bit more over time, because I didn't just automatically expect there to be a drop off. And then the adverse of that, so the flip of that was like, just because I was feeling low, well, we've got some room to go up there. And it's like just kind of being stable and understanding that what you're feeling in that moment is that moment. And that there's so much more to life than that, for sure.
Touching on that a little bit as well. So, okay, another deep one. Do you think everything happens for a reason? Do you think the universe provides its data or whatever you want to do and everything happens for a reason? Or is it us that give it meaning afterward? Does that make sense?
I think the universe provides you with the opportunity to make a decision.
Correct.
And I think we are I definitely am in the category of, we are the masters of our fate. We are the controllers of our destiny, but we are often presented with, you know, a fork in the road or an opportunity to do something. And it's up to us to take that responsibility and make that happen. Like, things aren't going to be given to you. You're not just going to magically fall into success or disappointment. Ultimately, it comes down to the decisions that you make, and to flow on from that, the decisions that you continue to make. Something that I've implored with a lot of my clients, and even with myself a lot lately, is remember how you felt when you made that decision last time.
I like that.
So there's no such thing as a mistake. It's only a mistake if you make it multiple times. Right. So for me, it's like, I've used this analogy with, it's probably not the best analogy, but I use it all the time. In my off season, ordering Uber Eats. This is my analogy, right? So missed a couple of meals, so I'm behind on calories. I'm like, I'm going to order Uber Eats, right? So I'll order Uber Eats. Whatever it is, I don't fucking know. Large pizza, a couple of sides. Not a bad time. And then I'll do it, and then I'll feel like shit. Because A, it was expensive. B, it wasn't the best thing for me. And C, I felt like shit afterwards. So before I make that decision the next time, I sit there and I think, how did that make me feel last time I made that decision? And then I chose not to order Uber Eats. Went, made my steak and rice, steak and potato, whatever. And then the flip of that is, how did that make me feel afterwards? Sense of accomplishment, a sense of I'm doing the right things, a sense of reinforcing my decision making. So before I make a decision, I'm like, okay, have I made a decision like this before in the past? And then the consequences of that decision, how did that make me feel? And am I willing to go through that consequence again to feel what I'm looking for?
It's like with let's say something happens. It's like, see, that was meant to happen because now you're like this. It's like, well, no, let's not push over the fact that I made the decision to do that. So there you can say that, because if the other way around, you wouldn't be like, you know, I was a drug addict or whatever. I can't remember what podcast it is, but I'm going to steal it. But it was like, let's say a dude's about to run a marathon and win a gold medal. He's the favorite, whatever, and he breaks his leg the night before the event or whatever, and he goes to a hospital. In hospital, there's this beautiful nurse that's looking after him. Let's call it Kelly. Kelly looks after him, whatever it may be, and they develop a really beautiful connection. They end up falling in love. They have these kids, they get married, and they go do all these crazy things together or whatever and whatnot. See, you were meant to break your leg. No, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not bypass the fact that you were so fucking charming that you were able to like talk to a
that's
nurse
the
named
thing.
Kelly and build a life together.
You had to
make
the decision to follow through with that
Correct,
connection,
yeah.
right? Because like in a completely different world, right? You break your leg, you end up in hospital, you meet Kelly, she's lovely, she's beautiful, but you're so miserable and depressed because you broke your leg that you fucking ignore her and you're like, you know what?
Exactly.
I don't want to bother you. So allowing yourself to be open to the opportunity that is presented to you and make the choice to do that.
Beautiful, yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's where it comes down to that same thing where like what life is 10% of what happens, 90% of how you react to it.
Correct.
Right? So I love that shit.
Yeah.
I want to
use that quote this morning.
Did you?
Yeah, I actually
That's the best, isn't it?
Yeah,
I love that shit, man. I do want to touch on your daughter a little bit, and I want to be obviously respectful with everything you're going through. I know you're going through some personal shit at the moment. When, like, I guess the easiest way to ask it is like, when she was born, what changed? Like, what
everything.
was,
everything, and and
your values, everything's like.
And how frustrating is it trying to explain it to someone that doesn't have kids?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. We can just look at each other and nod and go, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're like, yeah, you get it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
That first moment. So we had a bit of a complicated childbirth. Her mum ended up having to go into an emergency C-section. So she ended up going under full anesthetic and was out for a good hour after the birth and what have you. So like I got to do skin to skin for like an hour as soon as she was born. I got to cut the cord, got to do everything.
I did that with all 3 of ours too. Yeah.
I got to be in there for the C-section as well. Normally they don't let you in.
Yeah.
It was funny. The head anesthesiologist was there and he was like, "Are you good with blood?" And I was like, "Bro, I'm chill, man. Like I'm good." He's like, "All right, just letting you know if you pass out, we're kicking you to the corner and we'll worry about you later." I was like, "It's cool, man. Don't worry about me." So I got to be in there for the whole thing. I've got all the videos, footage of it, everything, which is beautiful. And you know, I remember I had her like skin to skin for like an hour and just me and her in an empty room, nothing else. Yeah. And I remember I was like dead silent for like 30 minutes, just listening to her breathe for 30 minutes, just listening to her breathe. And then I found myself like talking to her. I'm going to start to cry. You're going to get me here. But I can remember like promising her that like she'll never have to struggle.
Yeah.
Like that she doesn't know it yet, but she's about to experience like the most overwhelming love that she's ever going to feel in her life. And that won't come close to anything else.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So obviously, and look, you and I both have the exact same feeling in certain things because we don't get them all the time.
No.
And, you know, I'm fortunate to have a little bit more than yourself and a bit of a better relationship. But every Saturday, every Sunday when I drop them off, I still cry in the truck, man.
Yeah.
And I try to be strong for, especially Huddy. Huddy's the emotional one out of the 3. And it's like, why don't your mum live together anymore? Yeah. Why did you unmarry her?
Yeah, unmarry her.
Yeah. And it's like they're really tough conversations that you have to try to have.
Yeah. How old's Huddy now?
Just turned 6 this week.
Yeah. So my daughter just turned 6 last week.
There you go. Yeah. And you want to respect both sides,
Yep.
you know, and I don't want to ever paint anyone in bad light or anything.
You and I are very similar like that. I'll never say a bad word about it.
No, of course. So it's like, and there's no reason to. So it's like, how would you, again, like whether this is advice for me that you can give, like how do you deal with not being with her?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit different for me. I don't know what your parents' relationship were like growing up.
Yeah.
But you know, I came from a broken home as well.
Yeah.
So my parents separated when I was 6 months old. I don't know a life where my mum and dad speak, let alone like embrace. So, and I vowed to never put my daughter in that position because that was brutal for me. That no matter what happened, that my daughter was going to be the number one priority, and that we would put her first, regardless of how we felt, what we felt, or anything else like that. So I think, you know, making sure that she was the number one priority and that as long as she's happy, I'm happy. And that regardless of how much or little time I was able to spend with her, you best believe that that time that she spends with me is going to be best fun that she could ever have.
What's the most, I guess, the most you've learnt about yourself since being a father?
She doesn't care about anything else other than the fact that I'm there.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about...
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to understand what you just meant, but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So, obviously big basketball fan. For me, Kobe said this quote.
Yeah.
And he was, just missed a game-winning shot. Got thousands of hate from, a bunch of people and fans and what have you, and it's depressed, and they just missed the playoffs, and, just lost hundreds of millions of dollars on a contract potentially. And he goes, and I pulled into my driveway, and my daughters were waiting at my front door, and all they want to do is play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all that mattered.
Yeah.
They don't care about anything else, man.
Yeah.
It's like the success, the fame, the money. They don't care about that shit. No one at that age.
No.
They just want you to come play Barbies, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and totally happy to do that.
So happy to do that. Let's put
the fingernails, go for it. Yeah.
So let's put Frozen on in the background. Let's paint our fingernails. Yeah. Let's play Barbies, and let's eat 2-minute noodles. Like,
you did post to Frozen at one show, didn't you?
I did post.
I fucking love that.
At Oklahoma, actually.
Stole my idea again.
Yeah. So I remember she told me that my daughter posed me. We were FaceTime.
You're like, fine.
I was like, I'm trying to think of a song. To pose to. She's like, Daddy, you should post to Frozen. And I was like, sure. And then I played the song, and I was like, no, I could probably work with this.
Yeah.
And I remember I was because at the pro shows you got to give the music to the DJ and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna do Frozen. And he's got a daughter. The guy was doing it had a daughter. He's like, you got a daughter, don't you? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I love that.
Yeah.
I fucking love
beautiful.
That. And it was funny, like the posing routine. It was like I walked out and the song started playing. You can hear the crowd kind of like murmur. They were like, is this what I think it is?
What do you think it is? I don't know if I like this or not, but let's just give him the props.
And then I got about halfway through the posing routine.
At least everybody put their phone down and watched. That's what you always want from a posing routine. That's what I always say to my clients.
Absolutely.
I was like, I don't want people on their phone while they're like watching your routine. So like, I joke about this, but it's like every time Tony would call my name, they'd go, oh, Ryan's performing. I want to watch this.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want that for every show, and I want that for every client.
Well, I was actually listening to Fuad's podcast this morning whilst I was doing morning cardio, and they were talking about Terrence Ruffin's posing routine that he just did for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And Fuad was saying, he's like, I'd had a long week. I was kind of like, didn't really care too much about a lot of the classic guys. Men's physique, I was basically falling asleep for. And he goes, and then Terrence came out. And he goes, I put my phone down. My eyes were wide open. I couldn't take my eyes off.
Yeah, man.
100%. And he goes, and he was sitting with another one of the guys at Hostile and his wife who knows nothing about bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And she knew nothing about bodybuilding. She knew nothing about classic physique. But she watched that routine and she goes, I don't know what just happened. That was fucking amazing.
That was cool. I don't know what bodybuilding is,
but that was
that black man, he's awesome.
Amazing. I'm like, that's and that's what you and I put into our posing, right? It's a display of emotion. It's a display of passion. It's a display of our love for what we do and our appreciation for our ability to do what we do. And we take great pride in that.
And E-Man has that same thing.
He does.
When we spoke on Monday, because I sort of said, and I like to get inside someone's head and have a good chat and just see what type of person they are. And everything I believe about posing and what I do, and sometimes I do all those little routines in the Brunswick room, whatever. Like sometimes I'll have a little tear in my eye after it or whatever it might be, and he's like, I'm the same. Like you pose out of either love or pain, like one or the other sort of thing. It's never just doing it because you're good at it. Yeah. But those little flowy strokes, like that's love. Like you feel that. It's like coming from the heart. It's coming from that sort of stuff. It's coming from either hurt or love or whatever it may be. So going off that question, I think I 100% agree with that. One of the main things I've learned about myself from being a dad is just the resilience. Oh, yeah. I'm one of the most resilient motherfuckers you'll ever meet now. And it's like, and I believe that in myself, which is, whether this sounds facetious or not, but like, even the little things that you don't realize where it's like, let's say you take them all to a play center, whatever it may be. And it's like, Huddy's like, I need a poo. And you're like, great. So you all go. You can't just leave your kids there. So you all go. Huddy does that, whatever. You wipe, too much information. You wipe, whatever. It's like, Hazel didn't need to go. Nah. Goldie need to go. Nah. You go back. Hazel's like, I need a poo. You're like, fuck, you just went. Yeah. You go back doing this and you're back and forth. And it's like, I want to roll up. I want this. And he's just nonstop. But you do it with a smile on your face, right? And I love every part of it. But like most people would crumble at that.
Funny you should say that. Crazy story. So a year and a half ago, we were up in Gold Coast for an FMG show. The whole Peak crew, Tom, everyone was up in Gold Coast, and we'd always do like Movie World or something whilst we're up there, just have fun with it. So we're all sitting there at Movie World, unpacked our packed lunches because we're all bodybuilders, obviously, right? And we're all sitting in a circle, and this lady comes up to us, late 20s, early 30s, something like that. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, what can we do for you? this might be a weird question, but do you have any cocaine on you? And I was like, what? First of all, do I look like a drug dealer? Yeah, I do. That's fine. It's fine. And she was
I love how she's like, this may be a weird question. I was like, of course it is.
We're in the middle of movie world, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, do you have any coke on you? Like, my 2 kids are doing my head in.
Wow.
I stood up and was like, are you fucking kidding?
Yeah.
You're at movie world with your 2 kids and you can't function without cocaine. There's a problem with you.
Yeah, wow.
There's a real problem with you. She's like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't mean to offend you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, offend me? No. Like, you can't even spend one day with your kids without needing exogenous drugs.
Some sort of assistance.
Like a substance. Like, I fucking ripped through it. I couldn't believe it, man. Couldn't believe it. And it's like, she had no resilience, right? Couldn't deal with it. Whereas, like, taking my daughter to movie world 3 days in a row wouldn't bother me.
That'd be the highlight.
Yeah.
Because I'm going all the rides.
Damn right.
It's like, Honey's like, can I go on this? No, you're too small. I'm going to go on that. You film it and I'll post it.
Can you hold my bag real quick?
This is heavy. What's in this? There's a kilo of chicken. Just wait.
I've got 4 meals in there. Don't worry about it.
Mate.
Yeah.
One more question to finish off. You and I could fucking talk for hours.
Have we been going that long already?
It's fucking already there.
Sorry,
we can talk for hours.
We'll have to do a part 2.
We'll do a part 2, 100%. Real simple but deep question. Like, what brings your life meaning now? Now, what at this stage of your life now? What gets you up?
The ability to change other people's lives.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, there's no 2 ways about it. And everything I do in my life is so much less for my success and so much more to give me the ability to put me in a position to change other people's lives.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like with success comes, a plethora of things.
Yeah.
But that plethora of things gives me the ability to affect more people.
And it makes you happy in the process. That's what I discussed with Jez last week. We had a very similar process, or some very similar mindset where it was like that thing I said about Tony, where it's like, put your hand up, not put your hand out. So what can I do for you sort of thing without necessarily wanting anything in return. So just the ability to affect someone's life in a very small part. I even had people come up to me in the Nationals that I didn't know who they were. It's like, bro, I follow you. Like, I appreciate what you do. I love this. And I'm like, dude, what's your name? It's like this. I was like, oh man, like, I'm not even like, this is beautiful, bro. I feel so guilty. Hug and I'm like, let's talk.
Yeah. I feel so good to doing that. Like, I've been at shows before. Like, I've been at shopping centers before, right? And I'll be with like a mate or something, right? And someone will come up and be like, Matt Orchard? I'll be like, yeah, what's up, man? And it's like, I follow you on this, or I saw you compete. One guy came up to me, he's like, man, I saw you do your first ever ICN show. And he's like, I've followed you ever since, blah, blah, blah. And like, we'll have a 20-minute conversation.
Like, weird, but okay.
yeah. And we'll have a 20-minute conversation and they'll walk off and I'll just keep going. And whoever I'm with at the time was like, who is that? I was like, not a clue.
Yeah.
But I really want to know who that is now.
Yeah.
So I'll always end the conversation with like, man, shoot me a message. Like, we'll catch up sometime.
Same thing. Always, let me help you. If you want to help,
100%.
Like, whatever. Yeah.
And like,
it's like I said to you before we started recording, and I'll share the story anyway, but it was like that chick that came up to me yesterday at Honey's school, right? And it was like, just sitting there and waiting for Hardy, and she's like, do I know you? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, Bear Bros, you did a hens party. And I was like, oh, cool. Which hens party was it? And then you remember straight away, and it's like, I haven't seen that girl in 7 years.
Yeah.
But the same thing, she's like, oh, Catherine had the best time. She thought you guys were amazing. Like, it was great that it wasn't sleazy or it wasn't this, but all she does is still talk about it. So you've had, even from Bear Bros' perspective, like, you had such an impact on this chick's life. All I did was make candles and probably got my ass slapped at the same time.
What do they say? It's like people don't remember who you are, they remember how you made them feel.
Love that. Yeah.
And that's all we can do, right? Is when we walk into a room, we bring an energy with us that brings the room up. I'll finish on this. This is something that, I've always kept. And Ian Valliere actually used this to describe Chris Bumstead one time, and it's always stuck in my brain. It's a French saying. Yeah. It's called je ne sais quoi. And it's something that can't really be explained. Yeah. It's like, it's just it, right? And there's no real description for it. And it's like, if you've got the je ne sais quoi, you've just got it. I don't know what it is, but you've got it. Yeah. And I always try and, like, anytime I walk into a room, I just try to bring that. Yeah. I'm like, I try to bring that je ne sais quoi, just that ability to just lift everyone up and just make everyone.
Bumstead has that, like, more than anyone else.
Spades, bro. In spades.
But you have that. And again, not blowing smoke, but every time I see you at a show, you're always smiling.
Always.
And if not, it's because you've tripped over or you're doing something. But it's like, you're always smiling because you love being there and helping out, handing out awards and all this sort of stuff. So there was one funny story I wanted to share. I might as well do it on the podcast because it'll make people laugh. But complete digress. This is just going back on Huddy for a sec, right?
Oh, yeah.
I really love the school he's at now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He's learning so many stuff. He's coming back. He's smart as all hell. And he said, just one day, he goes, hey, Dad. I go, what? And he goes, un, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis. And he just counts to 10 in Spanish. I go,
Yeah.
where does this come from?
Yeah.
But he doesn't just say cuatro. He goes, cuatro.
Cuatro.
He even says it there.
Croissant.
And I go, you've been learning language? He goes, yeah. And he goes, I also speak something else. And I go, what is it? He goes, I don't know what it's called though.
Oh, this would be good.
And I said, well, do the accent. He goes, okay. Ich bin Hudson. I'm like, what the fuck? All he had to do was just go like this. And I'm like, oh my God.
Can't do that anymore. Can't do that.
Oh man.
Oh,
I was like, what do you mean?
It's all fun and games until you walk into his room at 7 a.m. and he's drawing a mustache on his.
He goes, that's all I know though. Ich bin Hudson. I was like, wow. Anyway, we'll finish on that.
We'll finish on that note.
Thank you for joining me,
I
man.
appreciate it, man. Thank you so
Absolutely
much for having
amazing.
me.
We'll have to do a part 2. Where can people find you?
All my work's pretty much done on Instagram. So it's Matthew Orchard, 1 T and a U. It's always weird. People, whatever, link it below you.
I'll tag it all here. And YouTube's going to start again.
YouTube's going to start. I'm actually planning on filming either tomorrow or Sunday potentially.
Yeah, we'll do some shit if you want.
Absolutely, man. And I'm going to need 3 new posing routines for the US. So
done. I got you back, baby.
If you know a guy, let me know.
Thank you.
But yeah, really appreciate you having me on. Crazy setup, crazy person. And like I said, I'm just happy to feel the vibes, bro.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Peace out, team. Keep smiling.
Always.